Okay. All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started and jump right in so we can give you the most time to ask questions at the end. So this is the WUSA information session webinar. Just to give you a rundown of how this will work tonight. First, Ashley and myself will give some introductions, and then we will tell you more about the WUSA role and its time commitment. Then we're going to give you some details about the application process, and there are a few different components that we want to make sure that you have all the information about. We will go over specifically the interview process and what you can expect about that. And lastly, we will end with a Q&A. So we have some slides with some general information for you, but if you still have questions, please submit them via the chat. Rachel is here to kind of go through your questions and make sure we get to everyone. And yeah, just reminder that there are no silly questions, and that's what this information session is all about. So feel free to ask.
All right, let's get started. I'll start by introducing myself and kind of talk about what drew me to the WUSA role and why you should apply too. So my name's Ashley. I use she, her pronouns. I'm currently a first-year WUSA chair on the Student Executive Board at Student Transitions and Family Programs. So I oversee a team of WUSAs, which is the position you would be applying for. I was a WUSA first, however, and I really applied to be a WUSA because I wanted to become more involved on campus, connect with different age levels here at WashU, and get some mentorship experience. I would really recommend applying for those reasons. It's a great way to meet new people, connect with professional staff, and just become more involved at WashU.
Yeah, so I'm McKenna. I use she, her, hers pronouns. Similar to Ashley, I'm also a first year WUSA chair. This is both our second time doing this role, but before then we were both WUSAs. I applied to be a WUSA because I knew that the transition to WashU was a big one. It was big for me, and I was really glad to see how much support WashU put into its students, especially with the WUSAs, and really wanted to be a part of that experience for other people. What I didn't really realize about the role, but am super grateful to have now, is just multiple types of teams that I work with. I work with Ashley on the executive board. I work with my WUSAs, which is awesome. And so you have a lot of opportunities to interact with peers in a more professional setting, but also getting to know them, as well as like staff, like Ashley was talking about. You also do a lot of like large scale programming. So we do Parent and Family Weekend in our office, as well as Bare Beginnings. So you get to do that and be a part of a lot of really fun opportunities. So if you're thinking about being a WUSA, you should definitely apply. If you're interested in getting like mentorship experience, like Ashley mentioned, but also, you know, being part of these large scale programming pieces. Okay. So there's actually two different types of WUSAs. So to clarify, transfer and exchange WUSAs, you'll often hear them referred to as TX WUSAs, and then first year WUSAs, FY WUSAs. So we can kind of talk through what the differences are, and applicants can apply and interview for both. Transfer and exchange are specifically students who have had transfer and exchange experience in the past, and we'll go into that a little bit more later. Regardless of which type of WUSA you apply for, the role will begin in April of 2024, so this year, and go until May 2025, with the caveat that most of your WUSA responsibilities will end in February of 2025, but you're still on to work with the STFP until May 2025. So if you want to do additional work opportunities, there's an opportunity for that too. This role is paid on an hourly basis. Some of your responsibilities will be to serve as an orientation leader and academic mentor throughout the year. You will be invested in new students' academic, social, and personal transitions to WashU, as well as being a resource for new students and a support system. You will also interact with parent and family members, like we mentioned, so being there for them as well. You also lead a variety of programming and attend trainings throughout the role, so you get a lot of really tangible skills from being a WUSA.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the first year WUSA. So one of those types of WUSAs that you might be applying to be. First year WUSAs, that application is open to all current undergraduate students, regardless of year. So first year WUSAs support WashU staff with implementing Bare Beginnings, Fall Welcome, which includes leading small groups of first year students through some activities and some different trainings over that period of time. You'll work on a team with 8 to 12 other WUSAs, which is supervised by a member of the student executive board. So McKenna and myself, which would be your member of exec. And then STFP professional staff members or pro staff members, you'll get to interact with them as well. So you'll also get to work with COSAs, which are your co-WUSA. It's usually 1 or 2 other WUSAs to help lead a cohort of first year students. That's something that is a really valuable part of the experience, getting to interact on a closer level with another WUSA. And then you'll assist with various types of programming, first year experiences like the first year passport program, Symphony on the South 40, and first year finale.
So, like I mentioned, we would go into more about what it looks like to be a transfer and exchange or TX WUSA. This is open to all current WashU undergrad students with either extensive international experience, maybe you lived outside of the US or studied somewhere outside of the US. If you have questions about that, you can always email and ask, or experience transferring to WashU from a different institution. TX WUSAs support WashU staff with implementing Bare Beginnings, Transfer and Exchange, Fall Welcome, and Winter Welcome, Spring Transfer and Exchange Orientation. This includes leading small groups of either transfer or exchange students. Similar to the FY WUSA role, you lead a small you will work in teams of 6 to 10 TX WUSAs led by an exec, and you partner with 3 to 5 co-WUSAs, aka COSAs. You assist with transfer experience and exchange experience programming. So TX WUSA hours, on and off campus experiences, which go into St. Louis, or whether it be partnering with campus partners for on-campus experiences.
Yeah, so we often get a lot of questions about the time commitment. So just to glance over some of these important dates, which you will be responsible for as a WUSA. Between that April 2024 to February 2025 period, where you'll do the majority of your work as a WUSA, you can expect to work around 150 hours total. Some spring 2024 WUSA training. So before this summer occurs on April 1st, April 8th, and April 22nd, all from 6 to 8 p.m. August training would be August 11th through the 15th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. And then Bare Beginnings Fall Welcome. Once first years are on campus, you can expect August 16th to 24th, no more than 40 hours over that period of time. As we were talking about earlier, Parent and Family Weekend, which WUSAs help out with, this coming year will be November 1st through the 3rd, and you should expect to work around 5 hours over that weekend. And then Winter Welcome for transfer TX WUSAs only, transfer and exchange, would be January 6th through the 12th of 2025, and you should expect no more than 40 hours over that time.
Here are some more time commitments to consider. So your weekly programming, WUSA hours, FY WUSAs, or first year WUSAs, they do 2 hours of WUSA hours, but 90 minutes of that is actually time on the floor with the residential community And then you get additionally 30 minutes, usually 15 at the beginning of that time and 15 at the end of that 90-minute window to set up, clean up, and do something called WUSA notes. TX WUSA hours, very similar, 2 hours, 90 minutes, typically every other week. And this is plus 30 minutes again for event setup, cleanup, and WUSA notes. There are always so many opportunities for extra shifts and special programs should you be interested in signing up for those and working more hours. However, that is not expected of you unless you want to. Fall 2024 WUSA training, you have hour-long team meetings, preferably on Wednesdays, typically at night. And then you have community trainings where everybody in the WUSA League is together September 4th and October 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. Spring 2025 WUSA training on January 15th, there's a community training from 6 to 8 p.m. And you will also have hour-long weekly team meetings, again, usually on Wednesdays until February.
Yeah, so now that we've talked a bit about the basic time commitment, as most of you probably know, WUSA applications opened on Tuesday, January 16th, and they will stay open until Tuesday, February 13th at noon. No late applications will be accepted. The application consists of a Qualtrics form where you can submit basic information, attach a resume and a cover letter, as well as provide a reference. And make sure you're reading through the application information page thoroughly. There's a lot of great information on there that'll be helpful throughout the process.
So a little bit more about the resume and cover letter. We have provided everyone with a QR code to our resume and cover letter rubric. This is also included on the application information page and is a super valuable resource. We want to be transparent about our expectations and evaluative process for the resume and cover letter, and this is our way to do so. Tips for a successful application are to proofread your resume and cover letter for typos. Make sure your formatting is clear and easy to read. Download them as PDFs and correctly name them. Look at the example resume and cover letter. That can be really, really helpful. And answer all the questions in the cover letter prompt. So be sure you look back over the prompt after you've written it and make sure that you cover all of those questions asked.
Yeah, so we often also get questions about what constitutes a good reference. In our opinion, a good reference is someone who is a WashU faculty or staff member, maybe a current or former supervisor, a high school instructor or staff member. I know I personally got a reference from a high school teacher, a current RA, WUSA, or TXSM, not a WashU student who is not your current RA, WUSA, or TXSM. And then overall, just someone who can speak to your interpersonal skills and work style and what would make you a great WUSA. WUSAs that are on the student executive board in the coming year cannot serve as your reference, and reference forms are due on Tuesday, February 20th. So you have a bit of time between the end of the application deadline and when the reference is due. So make sure that doesn't hold you back from applying.
So the next step of this process is the individual interview. Unfortunately, not every applicant will be able to interview. WUSA applicants will be notified via email on a rolling basis until 5 p.m. on Friday, February 16th, 2024, if they are moving on to individual interviews. All applicants will be notified either way, so please check spam or junk mail if you have not received a notification by 5 p.m. on February 16th. Interview signups are due on February 19th at 8 a.m. The interview is led by a member of the Student Executive Board and a Student Affairs staff member. Interviews will take place between Wednesday, February 21st and Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. Interviews are 20-minute behavioral-based interviews where applicants will be asked to share examples or instances applicable to the questions. So it could be a tell us about a time when type of question. Applicants will be asked to share personal reflection, understanding of the role and department. Once again, I want to stress the importance of thoroughly reading the application information page. We even post the interview questions for you to review and prepare. So we really want you to succeed and feel confident going into there. So you will have the interview questions before then. On our applicant information page, we also include tips on the interview process, breaking down our expectations about attire, and providing you with plenty of resources from the Center for Career Development engagement. I think that my personal tips for preparing for the interview would include one, to relax and be yourself in the interview. You've already read the questions beforehand. You've maybe, had some time to yourself to read the questions or out loud and say what you may respond to that question out loud beforehand. Maybe you're thinking about experiences that you've had in the past that could maybe align with some of those questions and how you want to communicate what you learned from those experiences, as well as what you know about being a WUSA and the research that you've done about the role, including what you learned in this session. Those would be my biggest tips. And I also think it's important to remember that we understand that many of you will be first-year students and a lot of your experiences may have happened in high school, and that is totally okay. So please don't be nervous. And to re-emphasize once again, we give you the interview questions beforehand. So make sure you're double checking those resources to use everything that we give you.
We also acknowledge this is probably the first time a lot of you are interviewing for a professional role. I think it was one of my first interviews, and so we know it's really nerve-wracking, but you're all going to do great. Okay, so we're going to move on to the question and answer part of our webinar. Go ahead and put your questions into the Q&A feature, and we will answer them for you. We're already receiving some questions. Okay, someone is asking when you'll hear about final decisions. So all applicants will receive a notification by 5 p.m. on March 1st, 2024 to let them know whether they were selected to serve as a WUSA. So yeah, March 1st by 5 p.m.
Someone also asked, again, a best piece of advice. I think we touched on that a little bit earlier, but again, just making sure you're using all the resources available to you, and making sure you feel confident when you're going into the interview and submitting your application by reading again your resume and cover letter and knowing that there aren't any typos, maybe reaching out to the Center for Career Engagement if you need some help and reading their tips that we offer to you. Those are some of the best pieces of advice I can think of. Ashley, do you want to add any?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think I did not read over the application information as much as I could have to use that to my advantage. So I would really, really recommend doing that. And just be yourself, be confident coming in. Everyone here is so unique and has so many interesting experiences to share. Yeah, you're all gonna do great. Okay, we have one question. Can WUSAs have another job in the fall? And I think we can both attest to this. So yes, the answer is yes. In addition to my role in STFP as a WUSA and then as an exec member, I've worked as a PLTL leader for the chem department since sophomore year, and I'm now in my last year here at WashU. It's definitely possible to balance both roles, and both are paid positions. There's some more information on campus roles that you cannot have at the same time, which are in the WUSA position description. And then I know a lot of WUSAs have off-campus jobs as well.
Yes, and something to add, you just cannot exceed 20 hours a week working since you are most likely a full-time student. So that's something to consider. I personally work at the rec center on campus, and I was able to balance both positions fairly well. So something to consider. The next question, are WUSA hours paid? Yes, all the work that you do for the STFP, all work responsibilities are paid hourly, and you will clock in for WUSA hours.
When do WUSAs need to be on campus? So the anticipated date for WUSA move-in this year is August 10th, and that would be for, once you're coming back for Bare Beginnings Fall Welcome and any WUSA training you have right before that time.
Someone asked who can serve as their reference if their current WUSA is on the executive board. Yes, their co-WUSA can be your reference. So like we mentioned in the presentation, your WUSA has 1 to 4 co-WUSAs that would be happy to serve as your reference. So feel free to reach out to your WUSA to get connected to their co-WUSAs if you don't know their co-WUSAs as well, and they will help you manage that situation.
Okay, so we have some questions about the cover letter. You do not need to completely replicate the example cover letter that STFP has provided for you. A good practice when making a cover letter is just adding a lot of the information that would be on that example, just, in your own words and building off of your own experiences, but it does not need to be an exact replica.
Another question, are study abroad students eligible? The answer is yes, if they are studying abroad in the spring. You'll just need to communicate with our team about that. And you can always email transitions@wustal.edu with specific questions about study abroad or other time commitment things.
Okay. If your current WUSA is on the executive board, will they be interviewing you or reviewing your material? No, your current WUSA will not be interviewing you or reviewing your material. There's some, the office checks for that, so yeah.
Will these slides be posted somewhere and will we be able to access them? Yes, they will be on the website along with all of the other resources concerning applying to the WUSA role.
We have some questions about what we look for in a resume. We have a great resume example and the rubric on our application information page. We can't stress this enough. Following with the advice on the information page is a great tip for working on this application.
Yeah, and I think also to highlight what Ashley said earlier, there is no specific experience that we are looking for in the past. Even if you've never served as a mentor before, that's totally okay. We want to acknowledge that you are likely a first year again, and even if you're not, that's also okay. So this is a really great position to grow in some of those skills that you may have not had the opportunity to practice before.
Mm-hmm. Some more questions about move-in date. So if I become a WUSA, when do I have to be on campus? In August? August 10th is the anticipated move-in date.
Is being a Bear ambassador and WUSA at the same time too much? I have a WUSA currently on my team who serves in both roles, and it's really up to how you time manage and how you communicate. Communication is key in this role. So communicating with your exec as well as the pro staff in the office about, how you feel about managing your time. There's not a cookie cutter answer about whether or not it's too much. It's more on how you can balance your time and how you feel that you will be able to prioritize the responsibilities of both roles. And I think a key part of that is communicating what you need from your supervisor, as well as making sure you can make those really important dates that we've highlighted for you.
Yeah, I think another great piece of advice on that front would be to talk to your current WUSA if you're a first year. If you're a sophomore or junior, you probably have a friend that's been a WUSA, and kind of ask their advice on balancing different roles on campus. Many of our WUSAs are involved in multiple extracurriculars here on campus. Is training paid? Yes, all work responsibilities under the WUSA role are paid.
This question, can you be an RA and a WUSA? not at the same time. So more examples of mutually exclusive roles, as in you can only be one or the other at the same time, or on the position description. So be sure you look through that just to make sure that you're not already serving in one of those roles or planning to serve in one of those roles.
Would we need to sign up for both spring and August training or just one? And what skills do we learn in the WUSA training? So all of the training dates that were on this presentation and as well as on the website are required for all WUSAs. We go over a ton of skills that are applicable to the role during those trainings. To name a few, we work with campus partners in diversity and inclusion and practicing healthy excellence. You work on building competencies and areas of growth for yourself over the role. I know something that we've talked about working on a lot is, like confidence as a mentor or, as a team member, working with other WUSAs. So these trainings are really important to build those skills.
I agree. And just to add on to that, I know a lot of people are maybe uncertain about applying for the role because maybe they're not as familiar with campus resources than maybe somebody else. However, these trainings are key because we don't expect you to be fluent in understanding all of the resources that WashU has to offer. So this is a good time to, one, learn about those resources, and two, to put them into practice. So we do a lot of practice scenarios with our teams, as well as Ashley mentioned, the community partners that come in and speak to us, and we can kind of have that partnership going. Another person asked, is there a chance we could get the PowerPoint? Yes, it will be posted to the website after this, as well as all of the other resources we've mentioned about applying to the role.
How many WUSAs are there? We currently have 114 WUSAs.
How does housing work during Bare Beginnings? STFP pays for your early arrival housing costs if you live on campus, and also your dining costs will be covered. They do it a variety of different ways, so there'll be more information on that as the time comes.
Someone asked, can we choose who our COSAs are? So your COSA will be assigned by your exec member who leads your team of WUSAs. A lot of different things go into COSA pairings. So this is hard to say, but it'll be a successful pairing. They certainly have been in the past.
When do we need to accept the position by? March 9th, 2024.
Are you eligible to join the executive board after serving as a WUSA for 1 year? So yes, definitely. Both McKenna and I served as WUSAs our sophomore years, our second years on campus, and we've now both been on the student executive board for 2 years. So we both served as WUSAs for 1 year and then applied to join the executive board. That being said, there's a few different paths you can take. There's a TUSA role, which is students who help mentor and support sophomore students. We have a friend who was a WUSA and then a TUSA and then a member of the student executive board. So there's definitely a lot of paths you can take, but the short answer is yes.
Yes, and to add to that, you can also be a TX WUSA, and there is a role specifically for mentoring and being exec for the TX WUSA role. So that's pretty awesome. And yeah, the executive board is a really great experience. You unfortunately don't have as much interaction with first year students as you would being a WUSA. However, working with WUSAs has been a super great experience because they're all really motivated, passionate people that care about their first year students. And so you play a really active role in helping them be set up for success, and also coordinating with, professional staff in the office, campus partners, and helping facilitate that large scale programming.
Someone asked, can we include high school activities on our resume? Absolutely. We know and acknowledge that many applicants for the WUSA role are first years and may not have many experiences at WashU yet. I know I certainly didn't when I was applying to be a WUSA. We really just want applicants that are passionate about the role and mentorship. So you can definitely include high school activities.
Um, who do we ask if we have questions about the WUSA role? You can direct all questions to transitions with a S at wustal.edu. That email can also be found on our website and throughout the application resources and information.
Can a sophomore be a TXSM, so a transfer and exchange student mentor? Yes. Sophomores can be TXSMs and WUSAs.
On the cover letter, it asks for employer name, employer position, employer department, and employer address. What do we put for these? You can just put student transitions and family programs. Again, our website has like all of those logistical pieces that can help you get all of that information. But yeah, student transitions and family programs is perfectly fine.
Someone asked if WUSAs are required to live on campus. No, not required to live on campus.
When does the WUSA role end? So the majority of your responsibilities will end in February 2025. However, there are plenty of opportunities to continue working until May of 2025, but those are completely optional. And there will be more details about that as you get to that point. But if you want to keep working with the office, there are definitely opportunities to do so.
Advice for asking professors for a reference. I don't know them as well as my high school teachers, so I'm worried. I totally get this. I know, especially as if you're a first year, you may be in really large classes where you don't get to know professors well, and it's also pretty early in the semester. Most professors that I know would be happy to write a reference for you to serve as a WUSA, and can likely attest to how you'd be great in the role. Also remember that it is totally okay to ask another mentor in your life, even a high school teacher. That's what I did, to write your reference for the WUSA role. So if you have a high school teacher that you're close with, and feel comfortable emailing them or reaching out to them, that's also a great option.
And kind of going off of the reference point, your reference should be someone who can attest to your capacity to grow and to learn, your capacity to work with a team, teamwork skills, your capacity to utilize information, time management, those types of things. So should be someone who has seen you work in that capacity at some point. But again, like Ashley was saying, it's totally okay if your professor or you don't have a professor that may be able to attest to that quite yet. That's totally normal.
And you can definitely pull up these slides, pull up the website, take some notes on some key factors of the WUSA role and kind of explain this to your reference so they have a better idea of what you might be applying for, since this is a pretty niche position. Someone asked, what is the hourly rate? The starting rate is on the position description.
Someone asked, what if we have an exam during an April training session? This goes for all training sessions, is to email transitions@wustal.edu about any conflicts. It's great that you're thinking about those early. So communicating anticipated conflicts early allows for there to be time to work out like potentially a makeup assignment or some type of alternate meeting. So definitely be sure to communicate those things early on.
And my Taylor's Star mentor be my reference. Yes, they can definitely be your reference. There may be other references you can turn to as well.
Can you apply to both TX and FY WUSA? Yes, and we definitely encourage you to apply for both if you're eligible to be a TX WUSA, because that has special requirements that we talked about earlier.
And my WUSA still recommend me for the WUSA role if they're on the exec board. So unfortunately, your reference cannot be someone who's on the executive board. As we were saying earlier, you can definitely reach out to your WUSA and ask if maybe their co-WUSA would be able to write a reference. I know I did that for one of my first year students when I was a WUSA that was about to be on the executive board. I asked my COSA to write that student a reference and kind of just explained why they would be a great WUSA.
Will my WUSA know that I'm applying? No, on our end, there's no communication with your WUSA or their co-WUSAs about whether or not you're applying. So it's totally up to you what information you would like to share with them, if any.
Does the resume have to follow the example resume format or just be formatted in a digestible way? The resume does not have to be identical to the example format. That's really there to help you. It should just be easy to read, and in a PDF format is a great way to make that more digestible.
Someone asked, since you've been WUSAs yourselves, are there things you didn't enjoy about being a WUSA? Personally, I really enjoyed everything about being a WUSA, which I know is like not a super helpful answer. Some things that I know don't, resonate with people like it did with me. An example could be coming early in August. I know I really enjoyed coming early. One, I thought it was super fun to be with other WUSAs on campus as well as the first year students. Also, the first year energy is like magical. They're super excited to be there. And so it was a great way to kick off the year. Also, I got settled in my dorm for like a week and a half before my roommates got there. And it just kind of got me in the flow of school early on. So that's one thing that I know some people, they either don't apply to be a WUSA because that's not something they're interested in, or something that they didn't anticipate, not liking perhaps about the role.
Right. And one thing I'll say, once I was back on campus in the WUSA role, I had a great time. But I know I was definitely nervous leading up to coming back in August. I didn't really have any close friends or anyone I knew well that was serving as a WUSA. I kind of applied independently. And so I was really nervous coming in. But definitely don't let that stop you from applying. You do not need to know anyone going in. COSAs are assigned randomly. I know that can be a common misconception as well, that you choose a COSA. But it was really a great way for me to make friends within my class that I wouldn't have otherwise met. So it's a great experience.
Somebody asked, do we need to do both spring and summer training? Yes, they are different. It's different information that's covered in the two different trainings. So we do expect WUSAs to be able to be present at all of those in the spring and the summer.
Someone asked how much we value the reference form compared to other components of the application, such as the resume, cover letter, interview, etc. I think this is a hard question to answer because we really look at how all of these components make you who you are as an applicant. I would say all components are really important to the application, but.
Someone asked how many applications for the first year WUSA role are typically reviewed each year. I don't know the statistics because, yeah, I just don't know. More than we end up having, more than 114.
Right. Me too. And it varies year to year. Yeah. Is being a member of EST and a WUSA too much? So either McKenna or myself are on EST. This is hard to say as everyone handles their schoolwork and extracurricular commitments differently. One thing to note would be mandatory training dates for both of those positions that might conflict. So if the training dates for EST are not explicitly outlined as they are for the WUSA role, you might just want to send them an email about this and just make sure that dates don't conflict.
If I already submitted my application but didn't have a chance to look at the cover letter format before submitting, is it possible to resubmit my application? Yes. Please email Rachel Iverson or transitions at wustel.edu to let them know. So we consider just the newest application that you submit. To get Rachel's email, please go to the STFP website, or just email transitions@wustel.edu, and they will make sure that Rachel gets that information.
And international students apply. Yes, and remember, international students are automatically eligible to be TX, transfer exchange WUSAs. You can also apply as a first-year WUSA as an international student.
If we apply this year and are not accepted, can we reapply next year? Yes, absolutely. And also, we encourage people who are not selected to request feedback from staff. Like we mentioned, like this could be your first professional interview, and we only want it to be an opportunity for a learning experience and growth. So please feel confident in reaching back out if it doesn't work out this time, and we would be more than happy to talk to you about it.
That's also a great resource to get feedback on resume and cover letter, as those are things that you can update as you go through your time here at WashU and use for other professional opportunities as well. How many WUSAs are accepted? So again, this kind of varies. We currently have 114 first-year WUSAs and 6 transfer and exchange WUSAs. So 120 in total.
Do WUSAs get housing privileges or priority at all? No, there's nothing special about housing.
What does it mean to be on the student executive board? So McKenna and I, along with 11 other great former WUSAs, are now on the student executive board. So this is a position you can apply for after you serve as a WUSA, either a first-year WUSA or a transfer and exchange mentor. So as members of the student executive board, we each lead teams of about 8 to 12 WUSAs, and kind of help guide them through the process of being a WUSA. We also have direct supervisors on professional staff that guide us through that process and help support us. So we're present at all WUSA trainings. We actually lead them, which is a really great experience. We get to do a lot of trainings, and there's a lot of opportunities for professional growth that extend past the WUSA role. It's really great to connect with campus partners, and we also play a large role in Bare Beginnings Fall Welcome and Parent and Family Weekend in kind of coordinating the jobs that WUSAs are doing and serving as a point person for them.
Yeah, and just to go off of that, Ashley covered all like large scale everything that we do. So just some softer skills that you can gain from this position. You're given a lot of responsibility. For example, WUSAs are mandatory reporters for Title IX incidents and things like that. So helping your WUSAs work through those situations, DEI concerns, etc. So it's a really great position to learn how to kind of step up and be a leader while also having your supervisors like Rachel to help guide you through the process. You also have a very unique teamwork experience with the fellow executive board members, as well as learning how to be in a peer-to-peer mentor position, because we are, only a year or two older than the WUSAs that we mentor. However, we need to be able to guide them and to be a leader for them. So taking all of those things into consideration, it's also a lot of fun. So.
And being as well, just like the WUSA role, being on the student executive board is a paid position. Yeah. If I know executive board members personally, would that impact the application? No, not at all.
How competitive is the WUSA position? There's no real answer to this. Again, the amount of applications that we get from year to year definitely vary. However, go into it presenting your best self and what you think makes you a great WUSA, and that's all you can really do, and it'll all work out.
Any other questions that people have? We have a few more rolling in.
Somebody asked, what does parent and family weekend look like working as a WUSA? So there are a few things that our office does with parent and family weekend. Actually, everything. Our office also has, we're student transitions and family programs. So that's kind of the and family programs part. But WUSAs can help with, we do a tailgate at an athletic event. It varies. It could be football, could be other fall sports that I can't think of right now, soccer. And so you would help with that. We have campus tours for family members who maybe didn't get one during Bare Beginnings. We do information sessions, and there's also events with like faculty and staff that will need WUSAs at, and just general like people to be around and to help parents get and family members get from one place to another or answer any of their questions. So in sum, you're a friendly face and you're also a wealth of knowledge about WashU. And if you don't know an answer to their question, don't worry. There are people there to help you.
Yeah, it's also important to note, and I feel like I've been asked this before, you can definitely still have your parent and family visit on that weekend. As we noted earlier, you're only expected to work, I believe, 5 hours over parent and family weekend. And these shifts include helping with setup and takedown of activities and things that happen over the weekend. So you can definitely still have family and parent time if you want to. How are WUSAs assigned floors? So sometimes this is based on a preference for modern and traditional, if you have a preference. And then we also make sure there's a variety of different student experiences represented by the WUSAs on each floor. So a lot of times it can be random.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just to kind of wrap up, we want to thank you so much for being here. And again, some important things to remember is that the application is now currently open, and they will close on Tuesday, February 13th at noon Central Time. No late applications, so put that into your calendar ASAP. Also, reference forms are due on Tuesday, February 20th. WUSA applicants will be notified via email on a rolling basis until 5 p.m. on Friday, February 16th. You will know something if you submitted an application by 5 p.m. on February 16th. So either way, please check spam folders, etc.
And that would be to move on to the interview portion. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. This video will be on the website if you ever need to reference back to it. And all applicants will receive notification by March 1st to let them know whether they were selected to serve as a WUSA. If you have more questions or just want to come get to know some other executive board members, there are 3 in-person info sessions, February 6th, 7th, and 8th. And here is the screen with the info. So if there's anything you missed that I said, please refer to that. And again, we emphasize this a lot, but take advantage of the resources there for your resume, cover letter, and interview. And if you have any questions at all, transitions@wustel.edu is your go-to.
Thanks everyone for your awesome questions today. Feel free to reach out with more questions if you have them. Yeah.
Thank you.